Comperu 3. 3. As 23. 40. At times assisted by woman attendants, she put on breastbands and a white robe, often richly embroidered, according to her financial status. Ch 2. 32. Re 19. 7, 8. PS 45. 13, 14 She decked herself with ornaments and jewels, if she was able to do so. ISA 49. 18. 61. 10. Re 21. 2, and then covered herself with a light garment, a form of veil, that extended from head to foot. ISA 3. 19, 23 This explains why Laban could so easily practice a deception on Jacob so that Jacob did not know that Laban was giving him Leah instead of Rachel. GE 29. 23, 25 Rebekah put on a head covering when she approached to meet Isaac. GE 24. 65 This symbolized the subjection of the bride to the bridegroom, to his authority. 1 Co 11. 5, 10. The bridegroom was likewise arrayed in his best attire and often had a handsome headdress and a garland on his head. Ca 3. 11. ISA 61. 10 Escorted by his friends, he would leave his house in the evening for the home of the bride's parents. Mount 9. 15 From there the procession, accompanied by musicians and singers, and usually by persons bearing lambs, moved toward the home of the bridegroom or to the house of his father. The people along the route would take great interest in the procession. The voices of the bride and bridegroom would be heard in exultation. Some, particularly maidens bearing lambs, would join the procession. J 7. 34. 16. 9. ISA 62. 5. Mount 25. 1 The bridegroom might spend considerable time at his home and, then again, some delay might take place before the procession would leave the home of the bride, so that it would thus be quite late, and some who were waiting along the way might get drowsy and fall asleep, as in Jesus' illustration of the 10 virgins. The singing and the exultation might be heard quite a distance ahead, those hearing it making the cry, "Here is the bridegroom." The attendants were ready to greet the bridegroom when he came, and those invited to the marriage supper would enter the house. After the bridegroom and his entourage had gone into the house and closed the door, it was too late for tardy guests to enter. Mount 25. 1-12. 22. 1-3. GE 29. 22 It was looked upon as a gross insult to decline the invitation to the marriage feast. Mount 22. The guests might be provided with robes. Mount 22. 11, and their respective places at the feast were often designated by the one extending the invitation. Lu 14. 8-10. Friend of the bridegroom. The friend of the bridegroom had a large share in the arrangements, and was looked upon as bringing together the bride and groom. The friend of Otextoi acute Miritra Longo, marriage 342 evidently also belonged to the man when he was engaged to a woman. New 30. 3-8, 10-15 The husband was the lord, master of the household, and was considered the owner heb. Baal of the woman. De 22. 22. Proverbs 31 describes some of the duties of the wife toward her husband, or owner, which included the household work, the making of and care for clothing, even some of the buying and selling, and general supervision of the household. The woman, while being in subjection and being in a sense the property of the husband, enjoyed a fine status and many privileges. Her husband was to love her, and this was true even if she was a secondary wife or one who has been taken as a captive. She was not to be mistreated and was guaranteed food, clothing, shelter, and the marriage due without diminution. Also, the husband could not constitute the son of the favorite wife as the firstborn at the expense of the son of the hated or less preferred wife. X 21. 7-11. De 21. 11, 14-17 Faithful Hebrew men loved their wives, and if the wife was wise and acted in harmony with God's law, often the husband would listen to her or approve of her actions. GE 21. 8-14. 27. 41-46. 28. 1-4. Even the unengaged virgin who was seduced by an unmarried man was protected, for if the father permitted, the seducer had to marry the girl and could never divorce her all his life. De 22. 28, 29 If the wife was formally accused by her husband of not being a virgin at the time of marriage and the charge was proved false, her husband was fined and could never divorce her. De 22. 17-19 A woman who was accused of secret adultery, if innocent, was then to be made pregnant by her husband so that she could bear a child and thereby give public notice of her innocence. The dignity of the wife person was respected. Intercourse with her during menstruation was forbidden. Law 18. 19. New 5. 12-28. Prohibited marriages. Besides prohibition of marriage alliances with non-worshippers of Jehovah, especially with the 7 nations in the land of Canaan x 34. 14-16. De 7. 1-4. Other marriages were prohibited within certain degrees of consanguinity or affinity. Law 18.